everyone, it's Jeannie here, and I am so glad to be joined today by award-winning, multi-platinum selling band MercyMe. Well, two of the members of MercyMe, Bart and Mike. They have a new album coming out, Inhale, Exhale. And guys, can I just say, I read the title and was like, oh,
Oh no.
that is exactly what I needed to hear after the crazy 2020 that we had coming into this year. Thank you guys for talking with me. And I feel like even your title of the album is already so healing.
Yeah, that's what we had a different album title. It's taken about 2 years to make the record, and it was originally going to be called Spaceman, and we were getting close to wrapping it up, and the idea was, not of this world. And then pandemic hit, and we kind of scrapped everything and started over because there's no way you're going to go through this and not write songs during it. And we kept saying, man, we just want the album to give people a chance to just take a breath and just remember what matters and leave all this other stuff to the side. And so you say it long enough, it kind of happens. And so we decided to go with the title Inhale, Exhale. And definitely, we always thought it felt so fitting with everything we've gone through.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it. Well, let's talk about how is it getting back into music? I know, Bart, after we got to see your life story played out, and it's an extreme success. We had talked a bunch leading up to the release. I think we were all excited about it. I don't think anybody anticipated it to be as massive as it was. How was it getting back into music after I Can Only Imagine?
It took a little bit. I think that's why this album took so long, other than the pandemic, was like, I think I lament is what I do best, and write about the things that I'm struggling with. And man, after the movie and everything touring, it was just a season of things just were really good. Our family, just the time at home, everything was in a great place. And it was weird for me because I started avoiding songwriting because I didn't want to go to whatever that dark place is to try to write something. I just I didn't want to do it. And so I kind of drug my feet for a long time. And so it took a little bit, and it was so crazy and busy that we just weren't in a hurry. We were like, let's just talk about Inhale, Exhale. Well, we need to breathe for a second. Yeah. And that was all before the pandemic. And we then finally, I think, what did we say? It was 2 years and 1 month that the whole album's taken from start to ending. It was finishing. And so I was stalling for a while. And then when the pandemic hit, it was this weird sense of, when are we going to do this again? And then that moment when it feels like it's taken from you, everything kind of flipped, where it was like, wow. And I don't know what it is. We didn't have any deadlines anymore. And so then we just started hey, we have nothing else to do. Let's go to the studio. And we just started writing like crazy. It felt like we were in a garage band again or something like that for that season. And so in a weird way, the pandemic definitely bought us the time we needed just to go, oh yeah, let's get this right, and let's take risk and
chase crazy ideas.
Yeah. And so for us, the album's kind of all over the place musically, which we love. It was if we all didn't agree it was a good song, then it didn't go on the record. And so it's it was just a fun process, and we've never had that much time to make an album, so I don't advise it, but it was cool. Yeah.
There's good and bad to that. We could definitely be our own worst enemies when we had no time stamp on it. Just go like you want. So, but in that, at the same time, it allowed us to really pursue things that we probably wouldn't have felt like we could. We would have to wrap a bow on it a little quicker. And there were songs that wouldn't have happened had we not had that extra time. So I think in the end, it really turned into something cool.
That's awesome. Mike, I thought you were going to say, well, Bart went all Hollywood and we had to wait until, I'm just kidding.
We had to wait until tragedy struck and had come back home.
I had my people.
He wanted to be a superstar and just do movies now. I'm just kidding. That's amazing. But let's actually talk a little bit about that. The doors that I Can Only Imagine kind of open to I mean, there were people who probably had heard the song because the song was always such an incredible crossover mainstream, success as well as Christian. But then the movie, which was the message was obviously so evident, so powerful. You have Dennis Quaid as your dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it brought in people that might have not necessarily had been exposed to the gospel. How has that been for you? Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's we had seen some success before that back when Imagine did, like you said, kind of go to mainstream and stuff, but never on the scale like I've never done the whole movie thing and at the pace that thing moves and I'd never seen anything like it. And it was very overwhelming and surreal. And gosh, the couple of the people singing on this album now, like Gloria Gaynor and Gary LaVox, are people that I met because of the movie.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's crazy how I don't think we still even get the reach that it had. I'll run into people, especially in Nashville, like I'll do fundraisers and it'll be I'll sing with a bunch of like say country like iconic people, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to do my thing and move, and they'll come find you like, hey, I saw the movie or I love the song or whatever, and it's like, what is
Wow.
happening right now? So yeah, it's been cool. Like still to this day, people will come up or reach out and say, man, I've been listening since then. So it's really awesome.
Well, that's exciting. You guys have a whole new audience that'll probably be, listening to even this album. You were going to say something, Mike?
Well, I was just gonna say the song, it took on a whole new life too, because in the past it connected with people because of when you lose a loved one, you just kind of imagine what they're experiencing, and now it's like hearing the story behind where it came from. We were getting emails and just hearing from people constantly about like the really difficult relationship we might have had with our dads, and
Right.
a lot of people who were just like finding healing through that, or asking forgiveness through that. And it's been incredible for sure, just to see it just again just take on a whole new life.
Beautiful. This album has some really good stuff. So I had a sneak peek. Love it, love it, love it. I was so glad that there were so many songs too, because I do feel like in this day and age, we're just getting the snippets of people's
Yeah.
music. So I was so happy that there was a nice long catalog to go through. Let's kind of get into some of the songs. First of all, I know you guys wrote a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
So what was the determining factor for each one? I know you said earlier if you guys didn't agree, then you didn't go for it. But was there a conscious theme or message that you're like following a pandemic, following social unrest, I mean, I can't even list all the crazy things that we went through this past year. But was there something that you guys were being selective in terms of the songs when you thought about it?
Yeah, I think it was never about subject matter, because it's like if it got to the point to where it's finished, it's kind of, we're all on the same page of it's something that we would feel like needs to be heard. It kind of became more of like I say it's taking the 30,000-foot view and looking at, we still believe in like full albums. And so it's kind of like, where does the album take you emotionally and and the pace of it. And we probably spent way more time than we should have, just like working up every set list, every, order, which song should. And we also knew there's going to be another album that comes soon, much sooner than normal. So there's like, if the song didn't make it, part of the process was literally like what song is best for the next album. So we were almost doing like
Nice.
that list, so to speak. And so yeah, and it was just like songs like Brand New, the one with Gloria Gaynor, that ended up, it was written early, but then was like, nah, I don't know if we need it. Then at the very end, we're like, man, we could use something that's a little more, just kind of lighthearted or whatever. And so it was that. So we were just kind of, it's like playing Tetris and trying to find the right pieces to fit. And it really comes down to the flow of the record or the album itself, and that we want it to kind of take people somewhere. And yeah, and so if somebody actually watched that process, they'd be like, really, does
that matter that
you're
much?
stressing
Yeah.
out about
Yeah.
this that much? So yeah.
That's awesome. I love Say I Won't. It was inspired by a true story um, of Gary Miracle. So his story, it's amazing. I was interviewing Nick Volkovich the other day, who, he's also doesn't have his limbs, and this guy's on fire, for God. I'm just like, how do people like that, stay encouraged and don't allow, whatever the world says about them to keep them down? Talk about wanting to highlight his story the way you did.
Well, Gary is actually a long time friend, like more like family. He was one of our first merch guys. He was horrible at it, but shows how great of a person he was because we kept him around. We were roommates for a while, and we've kept in contact for 20 years, all of us. And when the song had already been started being written, it was probably about halfway done, and we got news that he had been put in the hospital. He was in septic shock. They were having to put him in a coma for weeks on end, and he woke up to the news that he was going to be a quad amputee, and seeing how he handled that and just dealt with it, just never lost hope really in knowing that God had a purpose even in that. And so the song, even though it had already been started before that, it just kind of like it took on his identity. It's like, man, this is telling his story, and how can we do that? And so I know Bart talked with him and his wife and just asked if we could kind of share some of their story, and yeah, we were really honored that they let us be a part of it.
Yeah. And I always feel like songs like that are so powerful. They have life, they have a life of their own because they're based on the true story. And obviously, usually songs are based off of your own experience and stuff like that. But it's just amazing when, he not only is inspiring you guys, but you guys are helping us by his story, inspiring us. Talk about, okay, there's like so many cool songs. I wanted to talk about Brightside. I heard the song and immediately it was just like, it's just so wonderful. Talk about what was the inspiration behind it and the message, and if we can encourage people today to look on the bright side.
Yeah. The song originally, when I wrote it, it was a friend of mine that was a pastor that had to step down from his church, and kind of walking through that with him, and
Wow.
and and it's that the idea that, man, it's easy to find God in the things that are going great, but he's still in the brokenness. And I love the title Bright Side of Broken, so when I started writing the lyrics, it was just this kind of almost sarcasm of, man, don't tell me it's just a season, don't tell me the glass is half full, because I'm completely shattered right now. And we a lot of times we try to say the right things to people, we don't know what to say, and so that's kind of where it started. And then I just love the idea of the beautiful thing about being broken, where I believe that suffering is a gift, because you can't truly understand grace or forgiveness until you've hit rock bottom. But the idea of the chorus saying bright side of broken is a heart busted open, with every break the light will chase the darkness away. And it really came out of me just not knowing what to say to someone and just kind of processing that. And originally it was a fast, like, pop song, I'd written these heavy lyrics and I wanted to focus on the bright side and less of the broken. So I was like, wanting to do this like Michael Bublé type of pop song. And it was one of the first songs I finished, and I was so excited about it. Played it for the guys, and they were like, "Nah, it's pretty good." And I was like, "What do you mean it's just pretty good?" And ultimately it got voted off the record. I was so mad. And so
wow.
the lyrics were spot on. It just didn't.
it didn't. Yeah, it was way better in my head. And then near the end of the record, we were having those, talking about what songs need to be on the album. We were missing kind of that moment that's a bigger deal than like being a radio single or whatever, but that just kind of that emotional connection, and also this kind of reset, in the middle of all these, fast songs or whatever. And so we knew we needed one. And so I loved those lyrics so much, and was bummed that it didn't make the record. And so I came in the studio and just started playing on piano and just thinking, man, it could make a really cool ballad. And it turned out great. Better than I thought it would ever turn out. And I'm not good enough to play piano. We had somebody way better actually do it, but it was cool to just kind of get alone in the midst of all this and kind of hash that out on my own and just find a place for it. And it was, just really happy the way it turned out.
Yeah, well, me too. Thank you for that. Mike, how about you? Is there a song on the album that kind of stands out?
Gosh, actually, there are a bunch for different reasons. I think probably my favorite song is "Let Yourself Be Loved," and I think
So good.
for me, it's just a great reminder. Like I know me at my worst, and I can have a real hard time recognizing that anybody could ever forgive or love me as I am, and that's what Jesus does. And so I think it's just a great reminder to anybody, because we all look in the mirror some days and are like, "Yeah, you're not that great." And you know, having that encouragement of and that reminder that Christ sees us. If we could love ourselves the way He loves us and the way He sees us, it would change everything.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's the amazing thing about the album. There were a lot of moments like that where, like, when you go through your own internal battles with the Lord, or, I like the song, The Moment, where you're kind of recounting your testimony. Like those, they just all felt like such real life. And it's a hard thing to do in music. And then if you're trying to make music that, is radio friendly, or things like that. But I feel like you guys were able to do that. You had some really cool up-tempo songs that were fun, and then you had those storyteller type songs too that are kind of pulling at the heartstrings. Um, let's talk a little bit about A Little Love, right? I feel like that's an anthem. I feel like it's an anthem that we can use right now with
Yeah.
so much division. And you have a superstar on it with you. Talk about that.
Well, that's very kind of you, but Gary's also on the song. It's not. Oh, I do say
Ah!
hey, yeah, yeah. A Little Love. Actually, one of our producers, Jordan Moholowski, who's just a beast and so creative and so talented. Him and a couple other guys were working on that idea of the song for something else, and he played it for me one day, and I was like, what is this? And it was, I think it was more like a country song at the time, and I was like, man, I think they were trying to get it placed somewhere, and I was like, dude, this song is amazing. If you just change this and this, it could be, kind of, pointed to Jesus a little bit more. And so they let us take a stab at it, and love how it turned out. And what's funny about Gary LaVox, who's the lead singer of Rascal Flatts, I met him like after the movie. We met and became really good friends, and he told me back then, I'm gonna sing on your next record. It wasn't like, can I? Or we're like, oh, okay, Mr. Gary. And I kind of stressed out, like, where do we put Gary on this thing? Like, I don't even know what song it would be. And typically when he's been featured, it's usually a power ballad, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And then when this song came about, we were like, man, this he would kill this, and he did. It's like it was made for him, and it was so much fun. And that, I love the song, but I love the process of making that song with Gary. That was some of the best memories we had, was being in the studio with him. And yeah, and the message is like, it's we don't look at a lot of songs that outside that we haven't, like, it's usually ideas that we've written or started or whatever. And when I heard this, I was like, man, that's, if there was, I don't know if there's anything more relevant than that. And we're in such a polarizing society right now, and this perfect storm of politics and pandemic and all the crazy stuff that was 2020. It was just like, man, to be able to say a little love goes a long, long way. It sounds so simple, but so profound at the same time. And so just loved it. And yeah, it's like, yeah, it is absolutely a message that it's probably one of the most relevant messages on the album right now.
Yeah, it's perfect. You guys were named top, Billboard's top Christian artists of a decade, right? And you've had all this success musically, and then with a movie and all of these things. How have you grown? What have you learned, since being in Christian music for so long?
Well, I put on COVID-19.
The pounds.
Oh,
I
not
gotcha.
not grown.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that everybody, not just the band, I think everybody just kind of goes through life moving forward, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. I think everybody grows through everything. I don't think it's any different for us. I think that for me personally, I'm at a place where there's just a lot of gratitude that we still get to do this, that we get recognized, and people think that we're the band of the decade or whatever it is. It's a huge honor, and I don't ever want to take it for granted, especially after having it all taken away last year, like we couldn't go out and do shows, and like
Right.
just knowing, you know, it could all be gone so quickly, and just to be grateful for everything. And we have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, same. I'd say gratefulness for sure. Like, you know, we've been in the band for 27 years, and it's like, you know, we've definitely seen the highs and lows, and we're still like, we just can't believe that people still remotely care that we make music and that we're still able to avoid hard labor. So it's been a win-win all the way around.
All the way around.
But yeah, we love it, and it's like, and it's never a it's not even a thought of like, you know, there's never been a how much longer do we do this. It's like we still get to do it, and so it's like, you know, they'll you know, they're gonna have to take it from us, I guess, because we love making music so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to hear that, and we still really enjoy your music, and you still make really great music. So you're meant to do it. I know you guys have announced the Live and Outside tour. So after being trapped in 2020, you're getting out there. We're gonna wrap up with this one, but kind of share a little bit about that. What can we expect?
Well, we're trying to get out there. We just, you know, just dying to do shows. It's been about a year. I think we've done one show in the last year, and so we got approached with the idea of, man, what if we went to these minor league baseball stadiums that, other than their home games, don't have anything going on, and there's plenty of room to spread out and be outside, and people can feel safe, and it's just, it's summer. It's like, yes, let's just, you know, get out and get fresh air and
eat hot dogs.
Yes, whatever. Let's do that. And so, yeah, we're and the hard part right now is that, like, you know, our shows start in May. And so normally you start selling tickets 6 months out. And so we're having to wait until the venue's like, yes, we have enough staff, because a lot of people are understaffed right now. And so, like, it's a lot of these are last minute, like every day it's like, hey, we got Chattanooga, and so we can announce it. And then it's like a mad sprint show, but it's like, hey, we'll try it. So that's been the challenge, is like, you know, in some cases it'll be 30 days to sell tickets and do a show, which is normally a promoter would say, no, we can't do that.
Insane, right?
But we're like, man, let's do it. If 10 people show up, I will play like it's a million. I'm just happy to be doing it. So yeah, so we keep adding shows whenever they'll tell us throughout the summer. And so, you know, hopefully you know, we get a lot of them out there. The challenge is that every state's a little bit different in what they say you can and can't do. And so, or some will be like, hey, it's up to you guys to decide what's safe. We don't want a part of it. And it's like, oh, thanks a lot. And so,
yeah, right.
So it's trying to be
Pressure
and respectful to all of our fans, wherever you are, and just how do you do this? And so that's been the challenge too, is like, I don't think any of us even thought about how hard it would be to kind of get started again, not just when venues open, but, you know, the idea that baseball stadiums don't have enough staff and they're trying to hire people back, or the safety stuff and everything you got to factor. Some of our meetings, we feel like adults having to make decisions, and it's awful.
Horrible.
But hey, it's worth it. We'll get out there. We're just ready to do shows.
And, you know, people are desperate, just as desperate as you guys are to get out there. People are desperate to see, you know, live music again. So I think it'll work out for you guys. Anything else you'd like to add about the album, about what's to come, anything?
No, that was awesome. Best interview we've had this whole process.
You made it easy.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, God bless you. Best of luck. The Lord is with y'all. I'm looking forward to seeing you out here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.